Hello everyone, Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and it's time for another Extra Nawties monthly roundup. Gonna go over some EPs, albums and compilations that I wasn't able to review in full, but which I still thought interesting enough to share my opinions on them with you. Shorter reviews because there is a lot to get through, so I'll just be identifying my main points with each one and hopefully showing you a couple of things that you hadn't heard of before. Stuff released on the 28th of September and after will not be reviewed in this video but the next one. Some of the releases in this video are actually from the end of August, and the releases are covered in alphabetical order by way of artist name or record label name if it's a compilation, and are all linked in the description box down below. Lastly, before we get going here, at the end of this video there will be a small list of special mentions that I couldn't talk about here because then there would just be too many, but definitely check them out as well. And so, kicking off this latest installment, we have the new album from AC Slater, High 8. An LP that starts off quite commercial and standard, but really picks up, becomes more naughty, but it has always got that club feel lingering in the background, which inspires some pretty weak stuff here. I think I expected more from the Chris Lorenzo, Taiki Newlight and Jay Robinson collaborations. A lot of club-oriented stuff here that's a bit flat and aimless. Every Pigeon is a Dove has to be one of the weirdest songs I've heard not just this year, but ever. I mean, regardless of what you're into, check out that song. So a fair few ordinary drops here, some much more infectious than others. My favourites are ones that I feel you have to listen to, ready to pop off and laid off. But bottom line, pretty catchy album and enjoyable on the whole if you like house music. I and so many others waited so long for a multi-track aero chord release, but I hate to say it, it's really not worth the wait. I feel like this is his worst material yet. The ideas are all over the place, some of them are really bad. I just don't know what's going on. Just very unlike him. Maybe he's set too high a standard, I don't know. But the truly mighty has fallen, and hard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Anti-Serum is known mostly for his trap and not his dubstep, and that really shows here. A lot of the execution on this EP is awful, very empty, hollow, weak, the kind of levels that I just can't get my head around at all. A real imbalance between a lot of the sounds in the drops. Only passable song I would have to say is Hustlin', but overall a difficult listen, a bit of a mess, and won't be going back to it anytime soon. These songs are okay, some nice sounds in there, good energy, bits of melody, I appreciate the second drop changes, Death Rattle in particular, but no really special ideas. I also feel like I'd enjoy them a lot more if they were produced more cleanly. A lot of fuzzy production here, many of the snares are off, would make it much more impactful as a result. If eerie, unsettling, thrilling, industrial, glitchy music seemingly from another planet is your thing, then this is for you. As much as I feel I shouldn't enjoy Bleep Bloop's music because of how different it is, I always find myself loving the dark complexity and unpredictability of it. The conjoining of sounds and ideas is so interesting that I always wonder where it comes from, what inspires it, and I feel like that's what electronic music should do. Some great material here as well. The execution is quite off in some of the songs, but other parts you can really get into it, in spite of how strange it comes across. And I'm thankful that we have artists like him around. I would love an album from him, trying out completely new genres to what he usually does. Still yet to get the hype over Blunts and Blondes, to be honest. I mean, a couple of decent drops in here, but once again, his music just doesn't feel like it's doing anything, like it's going anywhere. You can't just have cool, quirky, rounded sounds and not do anything ambitious with them. The story with him for me so far, the ideas need more flavour and ingenuity because nothing really happens. Okay. I really wasn't looking forward to listening to this album, and my worst fears were confirmed. The Art of Gore is awful. The worst album of the year. There isn't one song I even remotely like here. You know me, I don't really like the idea of calling something trash or garbage, but honestly, I have absolutely no qualms in calling this exactly that. Hot, steaming, full-blown trash. It feels like a joke. I mean, pretty much all of the instrumentation is horrible in both its idea and execution, and the lyrics across the board are extremely distasteful, and it makes for a really bad mix. I mean, it's so bad. But I mean, cool man, keep degrading women and reducing them to sexual objects. Really cool, dude. I mean, do you feel accepted now? I'm sure you do. What a sad life you lead, Jesus Christ. The artwork as well, I mean, look at it. How fucking insensitive do you want to get? Jeez, man. Just in all aspects. Oh, God. Who okayed this music? I just don't get it. It really is so wide of the mark, I almost can't put it into words. I mean, whoever actually produced this thing, don't quit your day job. Once more, with Recent Basic, I find myself coming to the same conclusions, which is that I love the introductions and mid-sections, but I don't feel like the drop ideas are great compared to what he's done before. Some good drop moments, all in the second half of the EP, but for the most part the ideas don't really level with a lot of his past stuff. The execution is quite off in some of them as well. The melodic aspect is again what I enjoy about it most, similar to his other recent material. The thumping, glitchy aesthetic is good, but the musicality does shine through a lot. So yeah, not his best, but again, we do have to remember this is a teenager we're talking about. So much lies in store for him going forward. This EP is decent, not up there with the best Code Pandorum material, but definitely some decent stuff here across the 4 tunes. I enjoy the main drops in Wake Up, Kill Repeat and Ashes, couple of touches in the title track, where the force and idea are spot on, but the rest don't quite enthrall as much, not enough spice. Appreciate the mix of classical and seriously heavy going on once again with him, but I can't say the same for the vocal features, both of which I'm not big on at all. So yeah, some good moments, but far from his best. A good force to this EP. I really like the haunting feel of it, the mood established in the introductions, but a lot of the drops seem kind of stuck in themselves. Like they need a spark to really set them off, some higher pitched stuff in there, because they mostly seem to get caught up in that trudging, plodding, stodgy dark appeal. With the exception of End of the Hour, I hasten to add, that one has the best mix of sounds in its drops in my opinion. The melodic aspect of the EP is really good as well, at points dramatic and serious, and others uplifting and hopeful. Many good things about this project, but a couple of the drops do let it down. Okay, I cannot lie, I wasn't expecting loads from this EP, but oh my word, this thing really provides the force. It's very, very good. One of those where on first listen every drop just took me aback and off my seat a bit. The ideas are solid and the execution has that near perfect amount of bite to it. And it's very rare that that's the case, a heavy dubstep sort of death step leaning project without too much eeriness or spook factor just does what it wants to do really well. The whole atmosphere of it in combination with the impact of the dubstep and the different types of it we get just makes for a really solid EP and one of my favourites of the last couple of months. Now, over the last year or so, Former has definitely grown to become one of my favourite producers outside of dubstep, and this new collection has definitely strengthened that feeling. It's the best sort of uncomfortable, off-kilter yet so alluring and enchanting, and it taps into a sort of emotion that I honestly can't say I find consistently with anyone else in bass music. The feeling it inspires is so strange and unfamiliar that I almost can't articulate it, nostalgic but also prospective, looking back but also looking forward, through this weird, fuzzy experimental lens, both light and heavy. And at all times it's just so ripe and brimming with life, constantly flowering and kind of blooming into something new, like a caterpillar in a cocoon, and I get that's quite obtuse as a description, but honestly, it is the best way I can describe it. Check it out. Stealthy as fuck dubstep compilation here from Full Flex Audio, showcasing a lot of very exciting up and coming talent in the underground dubstep scene. I wasn't expecting that much, seeing as a lot of these guys are just starting out, but I'm not gonna lie, there isn't that much that I was instantly turned off by on my first listen. There's a nice range of dubstep styles on show here, different types of rhythm, brostep leaning stuff, death step, more glitchy material, all bringing their different energies to the table. But I do have my favourites, so we've got Distease and Detract, 11, Motar, Solaroid, Phonon and Unit. This EP is alright, a pretty good dose of heavy industrial FuntCase sound. I wouldn't say fantastic stuff on offer here, but some of it really isn't that far off. Great sounds in every track, but I'm not sure he pushes the whole ideas quite far enough across the 4 tunes. It just needs to be a bit more risky at points, adding more sounds in to quicken the tempo for example, a few moments where the gaps are quite obvious and jarring, and others like Without and Devastation where the execution in the drops just isn't there, elements of both that I appreciate, but those drops just don't have the desired impact. And it perhaps says a lot that the most rounded in sound are the collaborations, sums up how I feel about this one. Another solid graphite collection here, all the sinewy, acidic, heavy dubstep to gorge on. A lot of people doing that style now, but alongside E-Craze, he'll always be right at the top of that pile. His sound is so full and fleshy, also with that storytelling appeal to it through the musicality and the vocal samples. Unashamedly evil, but mysterious also. Mixing the scything dubstep with that rave electro theme running through it, the approach of Surrounded by Fire I find particularly invigorating and new for him. Not my favourite drops of his on this EP for me, a good amount of the percussion doesn't quite hit the mark as well, but some ambitious stuff here, and I think what you'd want from him for the most part. This EP is just so cool, classy, interesting, conceptual. Granted, it's a bit weird and off the wall, but that's the beauty of it. The kooky approach is quite endearing and comforting. A considered mix of thick beats and delicate glacial synths running over the top. The kind of music to transport you to another world. It's very vivid and alive. Freakish, almost, like a turbulent meld of emotions, none of which you can quite grasp or hold onto. A real journey within this glitchy, fragile setting, well worth your time and attention. Put simply, if you enjoy garage, whether future or normal, different moods, then this EP is an absolute must listen, and these two producers you must follow right now. Think Burial but with a load more freshness and brightness to it, a little more commercial but with that heartfelt quality really set in, and it does well to lock you into the emotion of it. I wouldn't say these two are on the level of a Vacant or a Direct just yet, they need to be more subtle with their approach, but a lot to look forward to with them going forward. Now, I wasn't massively looking forward to the new Jay Phelps EP, considering the vast majority of his recent material I haven't enjoyed at all, but this displays a real improvement. It's more active, there are more sounds, more ambition with the ideas, it just does more. Still a lot of weak execution in the drops, I can't lie, but on an ideas level, it's just much fuller than his other recent stuff. Which leaves me hopeful for him, because I was worried he would never come out of that zone of mediocrity, because he deserves better, he's been so great in the past. And it's good to see him getting some way there, with more energy to his style than before. It's cut better for the most part as well. Not special in itself, but a needed reinvigoration of his style, a new lease of life, which is very welcomed. KOAN Sound are back making outright heavy material, but don't expect it to be really similar to the music that originally got us so hooked on their style. Intervals Above is the heavy version of the Polychrome album, not a load of colour but immaculate detail, enough of a hark back to their original material with that neuro glitch hop delivery. However, not what we grew to love them for, more scenic and picturesque than outright bangery and exuberant. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lovely listen, the rounded feel of it, the sense of story, like a stream of consciousness, the hints of jazz in there, and it's nice to hear them doing outright heavy stuff again. But it is different and something to get used to, as opposed to something completely wowing me from the off, and I look forward to enjoying it more as I listen again and again. Some really cool, fresh stuff here. A lot of the sound usage and stylistic approach feels unique within that standard dubstep setting or background. Yeah, several different influences here, and that works for the EP. A diverse range of sounds in the drops, straight up gnarly stuff, high pitched stuff. Again, some percussion problems are evident at points, but I let it slide with him a bit more, just because he hasn't been around as long. And I'm enjoying Black Label taking the darker side of dubstep down more pointed, articulated avenues, with sharper production, a sense of spontaneity, thinking of the likes of Lux and Akios as well. I just appreciate the inventiveness of it in comparison to others of its kind. The song titles are really jokes as well. A lot of this is the kind of music that mainstream bass needs more of, pounding, storytelling, techno-leaning beats. Techno is for the most part another world altogether, so to see it being brought further into the bass limelight is a truly fantastic thing. There is other stuff in here, like lighter tunes and more house-oriented stuff from the likes of Dusty Cloud, Hidden Face, Golf Clap and Mysteria. But the tech really does steal the show. Eddie, Che, Ghost Dance, Systems, Moralia. Overall though, a really good listen, and the best compilation that I've heard in a while. Really enjoying this EP for its variation, colour, life, energy, willingness to push its ideas further. The collaborations are worthwhile blends of styles as well. But I'm not sure any of the ideas quite have the execution to really blow me away, the second half in particular. I get that may not be the purpose of it, but I feel like they do need a bit of unleashing. The Dirt Monkey collaboration comes closest for me, but is also therefore the main culprit in not just taking that extra step. I would say the EP is a worthwhile listen overall though. The bubbliness and direction of it really works. A lot going on here, but it definitely falls on the right side of being able to take it in as a mix of sounds and ideas, when a lot of this type of music really does fall very much on the wrong side. Every song is quite full on, as I said you can get through it, but most of it just needs more of a sense of story or feeling behind it. It feels more like a mesh of sounds without that much direction. The closer Bayonet definitely feels the most genuine to me, like it really knows where it's going. Overall, an amazing wealth of sounds on show, but a lot of it does lack a unified idea pushing it forward. In itself, I think this EP is just alright, but as a change and development from what Oolacile usually does, I actually find it pretty great and something I've been crying to hear from him. In the past, I feel like his dubstep has become so focused on the sound that the ideas have gotten lost along the way, appreciating the sinewy, glitchy approach, but without the ideas to match. But here, without a label behind him, his sound seems freer, more daring and experimental, and willing to bring new styles and approaches in, vocals as well, refreshing for him, and I look forward to more of it. No. No. A little bit more no. Maybe also a little bit of some no. And to round up my thoughts here, no. But nah, seriously, this album is so boring, lifeless, uninspired, weakly executed, the poster boy of what dubstep has unfortunately become for the most part, and I can't believe that anyone is still here for it. I mean, the Borgore album really takes the cake, but this one and the Bear Grylls one really do run it close. Next to none of it is good. Really appreciating this brighter avenue that Somnium's sound has gone down. It's more twinkly, glitchier, and he's always had that melodic aspect to his music, but he's pushed it much further here. Problems still remain with the execution in the heaviest parts though. I find myself enjoying the ideas, but a lot of the percussion is very off and doesn't prop up what's on top well enough, which is definitely the biggest drawback, apparent in every song. However, I do like it for its incorporation of different influences and styles, from death step sounds to psytrance stuff, drum and bass. A really nice mix of approaches on the whole, and I've got to give some love to the 3-minute introduction as well. Unusual for an EP for it to be that long, but it is cool. I think all of these remixes have good moments or elements to them, but none of which excel quite enough for me to want to go back to them again and again. They're all pretty good. The More Kismet one is probably my favourite, just so well cut and sharp. The one that gets its idea and style across the clearest in my opinion. Lux runs him close. Pretty much every project I've heard so far from Tigers, I've come out of listening to it just thinking, man, I love these guys and what they're doing, and this one is no different. There's pounding bass house, a moody good tribute, some super contorted, twisted dubstep, straight up robotic rhythm, quirky hybrid trap, breakbeat. There's just so much to take in from them once again. Some of the ideas are definitely better than others, but it's all so rivetingly produced and put together that it's difficult to put down. One of the best duos in bass music at the moment, absolute must listen. Penultimately, I've always felt with Tasoki that his production is very punchy and crisp, but that his drop ideas have rarely pushed hard enough beyond really solid, compact dubstep. And it's the same again here. Whilst I love the energy and oomph of his production, I find myself crying out once again for just a bit more flavour, ingenuity, surprise, things to kind of take me aback. I enjoy how much of a part the vocals play here, lends a sense of autonomy and character to his aesthetic, but yeah, just needs a bit more spice in the heaviest moments. So clean, but not wowing me beyond that. And lastly, we have the new Viper Active EP, and whilst I expected this to be more outright ravenous dubstep, I actually really like pretty much all of the ideas he's putting forward here. A lot of guttural, earthy, prickly production that, as I said, I didn't expect but is very welcomed. Got quick tempo stuff, hybrid trap, some dubstep in there too of course. A good mix going on here. The big drawback across the EP, however, is the execution once again. It needs to be much sharper, more refined so that it cuts deeper. Really great ideas that just aren't fleshed out quite enough to give it a full thwack. But having those different types of delivery stands him in good stead going forward. Excited to see where he takes the quality of his production, cause the ideas are there. And so there we have it. That brings the September 2019 edition of the Extra Nawties monthly roundup to a close. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. But just before I leave you, going to give you those special mentions. So many from the last month. Just going to put them up on the screen here for you all to see. Yep, have a little pause if you want to note them down or take a screenshot or whatever. They will be in the description box also down below. But with regards to the EPs, albums and compilations reviewed in this video, which ones did you enjoy, which others not so much, are there any that I missed out? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this roundup video, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video to the channel, and my social media accounts are linked in the description box down below. Next to my head there should be a link to another Extra Nawties monthly roundup video if you're looking for some more dark electronic tunage to explore. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know guys, so be sure, as always, to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace out.